Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. I'm not as ready as I thought I was. I knew when you get ready for a show like this on time, then you've forgotten something. That's just how it works, and I did. But it's fine. Hey, hello, welcome to Jarviskjir Here Be Heroes, the show where there are heroes who are definitely very heroic and don't nearly die every week.
And we're here.
Correct.
You are
We
here.
haven't died yet.
How much health are we all on?
Well,
Full.
we'll see.
Pre or post level up?
I'm full.
Yeah,
I've been full the whole time because I just got knocked out immediately and didn't take any damage. I just
Nearly eaten alive.
was unconscious.
That's true. That's yeah, actually, yeah. So, without any further ado, what happened last week? Well, the party came back from their last adventure in the forests of Jodenskoga, but that's neither here nor there because they completed that quest. And while relaxing, they couldn't get work off their minds like any good old workaholics like me. And realized people were sad, realized that fishermen had been going missing. You thought it might have something to do with a curse of a kraken god. And eventually you found a sea cave that had not only undead pirates, but also a sea hag that had a marrow minion that you... I mean, you nearly got killed by, but...
Handled thoroughly.
That was a marrow?
That was a marrow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But you did end up successfully defeating him against all odds. You did 2 encounters that were definitely intended to have a sleep between the 2 of them.
Well, we all had a sleep. It was just...
You 2 had a sleep.
I had a great nap while I was unconscious after being hit in the head by the marrow.
Yeah.
So,
It's the closest you get to sleep, is being knocked out.
really? Yeah.
There was a discussion after the stream of whether being unconscious counts as a sleep effect. It does not.
Yeah. No, I know. Sadly.
But it's a very appropriate question, to be honest. But you ended up decapitating both the monsters, and that's where this session continues. Pretty much immediately after that, I assume you all organized to just go back to sleep, get back to your camps, and just... You are wrecked. You can deal with this in the morning. That was the combat equivalent of getting up in the middle of the night to pee. Like, you're still not properly awake. You need to get back.
I do scrounge for spices first, because whatever that was smelled just great.
We'll go over the looting after your rest anyway.
Sounds good.
I mean, you don't sleep, so...
Yeah, I'm just
you can be
hanging out.
looting while the others sleep, while Varric watches over them. And you do get your sleep in the lower deck of the crashed pirate ship. You actually do get enough sleep. First of all, probably an hour or so of bandaging pretty bad wounds. Varric has a brand new scar, to say the least, which I don't even remember where it was.
Well, considering he bit me...
Oh yeah, it's like a
top, yeah, it's like on my waist.
Yeah, you have a nice shark tooth
Just
indents.
Just outlining the pecs, really.
Yeah. And yeah, you do successfully rest, and you could spend the morning before the boat comes to pick you up, looting and going through all these things. Brute, you can actually nab a few of these spices. They're of a fairly good quality. This is actually like a little home in here.
She cared about her food. It's one of the few things that I can credit her towards. She cared about her food.
This hag was eating people and seasoning them appropriately beforehand. I mean, Barut is the kind of person who may have read a book about how to season human meat before.
Clearly, she was
once or twice. You know, casual reading here and there.
Clearly, she was someone who didn't simply just eat to live. She lived to eat. Yeah.
That's a very good point. And you can snatch that spice rack and just put the little spice jars in your bag and stuff like that.
Excellent.
Going through the rest of the loot in her little area, there were bookcases. She actually had a quite nice little home set up here with like a pretty good like kitchen, like better than most kitchens in the world. Like a lot of fairly good equipment. How she got this here? Well, she had a big strong marrow guarding her. The books you go over. Barut, give me a little investigation check to find any books you might be interested in.
Right.
The rest of you don't find much in the way of gold here, but when you're actually searching the bodies, and there's small piles of like clothing and things that she has very little use for, those actually have some gold still on them. Now, these were mostly fishermen from Slate Cove, so really when you piece it together, you get handfuls of copper and silver that amount to around 2 gold. But there was a small amount of money that Virik manages to scrounge and find with his Scrooge McDuck senses. Barut, you don't find a whole lot of interest. A lot of these books are quite heavily water damaged, which make them quite hard to read, and your lore-keeping spell doesn't properly work on damaged books as well. So you kinda don't bother with going through all the books and things. Other things you find when you go through here, I mean, Tesh, I know you wanted to take a tooth or a claw from that marrow. You absolutely can. Just like,
okay.
And you actually do also, while you're searching around, seem to find a potion that is sort of a milky kind of blue color, and it's kind of got 2 layers that when you swish it, they kind of mix together. It's not got any sort of labeling on it, but it's in a quite nice kind of segmented glass little vial. Anything else any of the rest of you want to do while you're kind of like looting in here while you're waiting for the boat?
No, not really, right? Does this cave extend any further or no?
This is more or less as far as it goes, aside from, you know, there's small little areas that go down to like little pools of water, but you assume don't go. You maybe get someone who can swim, not in heavy armor, easier to like check. They don't really go anywhere further. It'd be the sort of thing that would be too dangerous to really look any further. And I imagine you're mostly just poking around this place to waste time while you're waiting for a little fisherman boat to come. Who does?
I was gonna say I am gonna grab some of the books quickly, like, even if they're damaged, and just pull them back, because there may be things that people could recover them a little bit more than I can.
Oh, absolutely. In this kind of, there's not a lot of book reading, but there are ways to do that.
Exactly. So I'm just gonna bring back as many as I can carry, and I'll probably bring them to Kinley first and see if she knows anybody. But anyways, sorry, just wanted to mention that.
No, that's fine.
Can I actually ask? Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
You first.
I would probably take what remains there are left of people and give them like a somewhat decent burial, if I could. Just like say a few words and like bound them up.
I
throw them in the water.
Yeah, they would have to be burials at sea, but yeah, I think that's fine and would definitely be something you would do.
Okay, so with the scrambling is going the 2 gold worth stuff. Can I actually have copper and silver value for that? Because I have an idea of what I'm going to do later on with that.
Just segment it however you care.
Okay,
I
cool.
really don't often worry about copper and silver because they just do not matter to adventurers.
I
just give gold.
Pretty much. I'm using it for a reason though.
Yeah. Just always imagine that you can split it. However, I don't really care about that. That's the level of immersion I do not care about. I have a great respect for RPG systems where in certain areas coinage has different value, but nah. Not today.
You don't want to give us some Electrum?
Oh, Electrum. Nuh-uh. No Electrum. Nuh-uh. So, after, you know, a fair amount of mourning, scrounging around here, more bandaging, checking of wounds, the fisherman that brought you out here in the first place does he walks up to you with a lantern because he could not pilot the boat inside the cave the way you could, and arrives to take you home, which he does. Over a couple of hours of at sea, you can sort of think on things, maybe even say a few more words for the fallen before you get back to Slate Cove and back to the shore where you belong. And that whole little thing is done. You did probably take both of the heads of both the Merrow and the Sea Hag.
Absolutely.
You have a head bag.
Yeah. It's not a good head bag.
One
It's
of them's
a
probably a bit big for the head bag.
It's
We
a
need
big
an
head.
extra head bag.
You do. You need a specialized head bag. This was talked about on Discord.
yeah.
But no, you make it back to Slate Cove in mostly one piece. Varric might disagree with that slightly. But your little kind of side adventure is done when you get back to Slate Cove, and there are people on the docks who kind of ask what you're doing, and you like raise the bloody bag of heads. Like, just like Fable, they're like, woo, yeah! And really, when you get back to Kazumgarn, you talk about it. The people of the Greyfish, they're mildly amused, and just like when you ask Kinley, it's like, oh, well, that's surprising. I didn't. Maybe we'll get some money in return for that, and things like that. It's really more what you guys want to do at the moment, while sort of things percolate, whether you do get money in a few days or not. This little quest interrupted what could have been a time of rest when you were going from tavern to tavern. Kind of what are you going to go back to after all this?
I think we should do what we were doing before, which was getting drunk.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Right?
Agreed, but I'm gonna give the Sodden books, like I'm gonna pull out as many of the Sodden books as I could carry with me and just hand them to Kinley's desk and just say, I was hoping that you knew a way to restore these books to their original format.
I do. Caster! I have a job for you. And gets the caster to do it.
Yeah. Perfect. Great. I'll come back for these in a little bit and just I'll say thank you and yeah.
Absolutely.
Go get drunk.
And you head back to the tavern and you get drunk. It's one of those things where you probably inappropriately show around the head bag at the tavern because no one took the heads from you this time, and I definitely imagine drunk Tobias and Eleanor doing that.
Wait, are we at the tavern that's like near the harbor, or are we back at the one that where
would you go?
Spiral is?
I mean, we have a place now.
You have your regular.
We do, but I'm checking.
I still didn't check the VODs to find the name of.
I feel like Corpse Flower will love this.
Oh, he's very
probably.
amused.
He likes heads and bags.
He likes
Yeah.
blood.
He seems like the type of guy who would enjoy a good old marrow head
I mean,
in a very small bag.
He's got corpse in his name.
Yeah.
Like,
He is a tiefling.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I guess we're heading there. Cool.
Can I ask, is the woman that was there before, that was mourning the lost loved one, there this time?
Well, there were multiple.
Okay, well, any of the ones that I would say that are the same?
Yeah. The one,
Okay.
the one that Eleanor talked to, not the one that Tobias. Actually, that was the same person, but they're still there. Head down in a drink.
Virik
Move out
would
their friends this time.
Virik would actually take a moment to slink away from people, and go
Very good
over
at that.
and and so he's just hi, sorry about my friends last time. So here, and I'm just gonna give a gold piece and give a gold piece to each of the ones that are there. So how many?
Oh, yeah, well, there would only be 2 of them there today. There were more last time, but yeah, give them each a gold piece.
Yeah.
It's that sort of...
Oh, I'm so sorry. I totally thought he was gonna say the head.
Yeah,
No.
I was really worried that you
Virik does not have the head bag.
Appreciation. Yeah, no.
Eleanor has the head bag.
Yes.
Also, I find it hilarious that the Dro is the one with the most tact in this party.
I was trained to be a slave. Like I had to worry about what people were doing. If I pissed someone off, I was dead.
Bird has some tact.
So
That's true.
He's careful about what he says 90% of the time. But he didn't say anything to anybody.
You weren't involved. No, but
I wasn't involved.
it's one of those things where they're quietly appreciative. You know, that just a gold is quite a bit of money here, and especially considering they probably lost their bread makers. That's quite a lot. but they're not, you know, crying and holding your hands or anything like that. It's a very sort of quiet respect given back. I mean, maybe there'd be more if you weren't so weird looking, with the mask and stuff. But they definitely appreciate it.
Not fleeing in terror is kind of the...
That's the gold standard, really.
Yeah. I'll do that, yeah.
You are muted.
Oh, muted.
I did the mute button wrong. Sometimes the mute button doesn't work. And that's when I get mad. So you're hanging out, drinking, having a wonderful time. There's really not a whole lot that happens in the next couple of days. You actually get a chance to actually relax. Sure, you had a bit of a break between the quest in the forest and coming back to town, but you were traveling. This is actually time to relax and drink and make merry and chat to locals more than you ever have before, Barut and Virik, because you're regulars at a tavern now. So other regulars are going to start to know you and start to recognize you and start to ask how you're doing and have you got any more new heads in the bag? You have.
We do. It's very exciting.
Not since the last time you met them.
Not since the last time, no.
Over like the period of a week, sort of relaxing and drinking. But if we assume, but no shenanigans are going to happen, is there anything else any of you would want to do during a short period of downtime? Chilling, drinking, eating, relaxing is absolutely okay.
Go and get my shield.
Oh, of course.
And my mask. I joined for that.
A couple of days in, you two probably on your own, unless Tobias wants to go with you, go to Win, I remember his name was, and you get your shield, you get the mask. The mask is better than it was, because it was a faceplate of a wooden creature before. You probably still prefer your mask, because it kind of fits the whole face. This kind of leaves a little room for the mouth. It's kind of like an upper mask, but it's still, you know, useful to have as an alternative, and you can keep it and stash it away, especially because you've got some new ideas about how to hide your identity. I'm doing a lot of ums today. I need to get into the swing of it. Whereas your shield, Barut, is perfect. It's exactly what you imagined. It's got the death glare of this sort of treant creature that sort of stares outward into the distance. It makes it this kind of haunting mask on this shield. It's been varnished in some places, but not in all, so it still kind of looks natural. It's been fitted properly so it can nicely fit on your arm. And I imagined before you had like a buckler. This is like a full like arm shield that like pretty much encompasses your entire arm.
Great.
It is, because it's quite heavy. I just realized I have a cat. I didn't realize I had a cat. I literally saw her on my camera moving. I'm like, wow. But no, the shield is perfect, Barut. Completely worth the money. You actually, being an elf, you know the protective values of, you know, metal versus wood. And sure, there's chances this could break, but the way it's been varnished, the way it's been reinforced in the back, it's of a high quality. You're not particularly worried about that. And you always have your other shield just in case.
Exactly. Yeah. Great. I'm actually going to give him, because I believe I already paid him for the work up front, but I'm going to give him an extra 5 gold for his work. Yeah, because it's excellent work, and I am clearly very impressed. Just the look on my face would just be normally quite stoic. In here, excitement. Real, like, genuine excitement.
Genuine, good quality craft. Yeah.
Exactly. This is masterwork, and I'm very excited about that. And so I'll hand him an extra 5 gold and say thank you so much for your work on this. I couldn't be more thrilled.
You didn't need to. You already paid me, but that's fine. If you ever need anything else of this, I'm your man.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I'll do a proper bow to him, even though it's like, you know, he's probably used to the elves that come in here doing similar things. So I'm just kind of giving him a normalcy
exactly. It'd even be one of those things of like, this is like showing him a different side to the draft. I'm just distracted by my own cat. I love my kitty. Yeah, and when you come back, like, to the tavern with the mask, instead of going back to your guild.
Yeah, because I went to the tavern, of course.
You're like, ha!
Yeah.
People are very impressed, especially because this has got a story behind it, which is also another reason why you're so freaking interested. There's a story behind the mask. And that's something that's very much respected here. I mean, that's honestly respected in a lot of cultures. Just, you can tell the tale of, oh, we defeated this, and Eleanor carved its face off, and stuff like that.
But I want to point out, whenever I tell the story, it's told true, exactly true, to exactly how it happened, to exactly even my weakness in it, and the party's weakness in it, and just demonstrating that, no, hey, we're people, but we've overcome this stuff to get to this point. And, you know, it's very much a point made of, no, this is the true story of how this
shield... Go ahead and give me a performance roll, actually.
Sure. It's not going to be very good, because I'm a terrible storyteller.
That's why I wanted you to roll.
Yeah. It's mediocre.
The people who already know you at the tavern are very interested.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of doubled down a bit too much on trying to be humble.
Mm. Yeah, that happens.
On one hand, Grey Fists don't do that, so that's very interesting. On the other hand, these kind of people respect the feats of strength, and when you, like, admit levels of weakness, especially the more racist ones, just kind of don't give a shit and get, like, even more less interested. But, you know, that's just how it's gonna go.
And I'm okay with that too, because it's not about the performance for me, it's about telling the true story. So
yeah, fair. That's entirely reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else anyone else wants to do during a little bit of time?
I feel like anytime Tobias tells this story or talks about
so much more embellished.
It's about 7 feet taller than it actually was. And like Eleanor swung her sword with one hand, like just impossible things that for sure didn't happen are definitely embellished. But other than that, no.
I mostly just drink, hang out, eat, relax, contemplate on the things we've learned over this period of time, and
absolutely,
you know, grow as people.
I actually more or less used the Xanathar's Guide downtime rules for downtime, and actually very interesting. If you were like taking this time to relax, it would actually help you heal with diseases if you had any. But yeah, exactly. It's time to, especially for Barut and maybe even Virik, like think back on what you've already done. Contemplate your time with the Grey Fist, mostly positively, you know, really enjoy it, telling more stories, maybe even Barut telling some stories about places he's been in the past to the party.
Absolutely.
Building more of a bond that there's two types of bonds as a party. There's the bond you make in combat, and then there's the bond you make at the fucking tavern. And that's the one you spend, you know, several days making over and over. Not that you don't do, you know, odd jobs and things like that. And Tobias definitely sees his family and things like that. But that's more or less what you do. It actually does come in after a few days that the barony is willing to pay you all 25 gold for the kill. That's including the cut. One of those things where, because it was, you know, after the fact, I'm not going to give you a huge amount, but still, 25 gold is a huge amount.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just not that much to you guys.
It's great for me. I'm pretty broke at the moment.
One thing I would like to do as well, actually, that I just remembered, after all this monster hunting and stuff, during said downtime, I would like to spend a little bit of time with Fireflies, actually, and just ask him some questions about anatomy. Specifically monster anatomy.
Yeah, he very much is. Fireflies is an interesting individual. He, when you spend this extended periods of time at him, like you go out at night to the tavern, you stay in and learn with him. You really get to see how forgetful he is, and it's just a sign of just mental damage to him. Very much imagine, you know, like Walter from Fringe. Just he kind of bounces between topics. You do learn a lot, especially because he's not the kind of person who even encourages book learning in the same way. Like, he would, show you diagrams and draw them. He just gets distracted a lot, but you do learn an awful lot as well. It's actually important to note that during this whole time, he's also brewing potions, and he will give Tobias 4 extra potions of healing during this week. Not all at once, but to the party. Just because he's hanging out with you the most.
In the party loot.
Awesome. After more or less a week, you're getting ready in Kazimgard to go out to the tavern. It's like, oh, what are we gonna do today? Drink? Oh yeah, well, let's go and drink. It'll be Kinley who will actually come down to speak to you with quite clearly a contract in hand. She will, as usual, turn to Barut. And she will kind of hand the contract to him and will say, if you are interested, there is a job that is further south.
Further south? Okay.
When you look at it, immediately you notice the contract is in Elven. High Elven.
Okay.
The contract is to exercise a spirit haunting a library in Lower Thundral.
Okay. It's quite the trek. Not that far, but it's quite the trek still.
It's quite a trek, but it's a semi-reasonable distance. You know that the Greyfists, they do help Thundral in some ways because the elves just have a different sort of level of importance and also don't mind delegating. It does seem weird that something inside the city would be something to come up, but it's a job. But she does kind of postulate it like, if you're interested. Not that you have to do it, although that might just be being polite.
The
reward would be 300 gold each.
That's real good. Is that after cut is taken from the?
Yeah, after cut is taken.
Cool. So I'm gonna turn and direct the information to everybody else and let them know what the job is, and I'm up for it if everyone else is.
Explicitly, it would say 300 golden kings each, which you would know as the currency.
Yeah. And I'd pass along all that information. Does anyone have any qualms against doing this?
No, I think the spirits. I'm so bored.
I suppose I can tuck it in and bow for 300 gold pieces if we must spend some time among the elves. Grab my bow.
I'm gonna turn to Kinley, who I imagine is still there.
Yeah, she's like she often, and Hurlgiant does it as well, and they might have got this trait from each other. Like they'll go down to talk to you and not finish getting down the stairs. Like they're a couple of steps up, but she's still there.
Okay. And I'm just gonna say, we'll gladly take the contract. And also, side note for myself, did Caster end up finishing up those books by any chance?
Not all of them.
Okay.
Some, but they are not of extreme interest to me. They will most likely be if you are taking a trek to Thundral, and especially if you do not buy steeds. There will be plenty of time for books to be recovered.
Fair enough. All right. Well, thank you. I'm just gonna turn around and go and grab my gear.
When you read over the contract more, you give it a skim read first, then you read over it more. Explicitly, the contract, and it doesn't always say the contract written. There's not actually really a rules for these contracts, like a set of rules. It's just sort of however they write it. You are explicitly meant to meet with a man named Halavar Endoris, who is the head scholar of this library, which makes sense.
Okay. Well, let's go meet with this Halavar and Doris. Gonna write that down before I forget. And Bruitt's gonna make a note in his notebook.
Right on his arm. So the question would be is how do you really want to tackle this travel? You actually have a lot of routes known to you. Barut, you actually walked up the road you're going to be going back down. It is a long road, but there is literally a road. You could buy horses. You could just kind of rely on your ranger to feed you. You could even go off the road and, you know, get into trouble in the forest. It's kind of entirely up to you.
I mean, Burritt would suggest the road that he's traveled already, given that he knows it and given that it's, you know, it was a relatively safe bit of travel. Nothing really stopped him along the way up here. In terms of safety and in terms of speed, we could drive horses if we wanted to, but I think it would be simple enough for us to walk, but depends how fast we want to get there.
Horses can more or less double like your speed, you know.
Yeah.
And that it does depend on how fast you need to get there, because you remember as travel in D&D parties, you can travel distances at faster speeds. I usually assume you're not, but...
Well, how much would it be to take horses?
75 gold each. If you want to rent a horse, if you return, you would get a portion of that back, depending on how long it's been. But of course, then if you explicitly try to rent a horse and then don't ever get it back, you might be in a little trouble.
Played enough D&D to know that the horses are going to die. And root.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Not buy, not rent.
Oh, it's up to you guys. I'm fine with either.
Does the contract explicitly say how long we have to get there, or time frames or anything?
Elves.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of thinking like, Burritt would just suggest walking. It's, you know, it's a bit of a trek.
Yeah.
But,
I'm a bit more comfortable with my own 2 feet on the ground, so if everyone else is okay with that, then hit the old dusty trail.
Time to think, time to read.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Time to read. Awesome. And you guys set off, I presume, unless there's any sort of last minute checks you want to make?
Do we want to pick up any provisions before we go?
Tobias can feed you all, but you know,
Just in case, yeah.
It doesn't hurt to
it's
have the
smart
provisions
to have
anyways.
extra rations in case you split up, in case Tobias meets an unfortunate end. Stuff like that.
I do have rations, and I've got quite a few because I just keep them from traveling
I
all
also
the time.
have rations on me.
We never spent them because we've been eating boar, eating stuff that Tobias found.
Eating the flying snakes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I would like to do actually during this time, which is just something obvious, I'm going to go and buy another short sword to replace my broken one. So I'm not using this random stone scimitar that we got.
Oh, yeah.
That's
that would
fine.
be a good idea.
Yeah.
I will do the same for buying a boomerang. Thanks for reminding me.
And I'm going to pick up a few extra arrows as well.
Okay.
Well, that's not a bad idea. I should pick up a few extra arrows as well, actually. Just in case I actually use my bow at any point.
You never know.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's entirely fine, that sort of restocking. Slate Cove doesn't have like the biggest amount of like shops and markets and things, but easily like all that sort of stuff you can find when you actually go out your way, and you know the town well enough to find the right places to buy arrows and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I assume at least somewhere in town there's a Fletcher.
Plenty. All right, good. And when you are done buying all of that, you can start leaving to the south.
I will buy a couple more javelins because I've lost some.
You did. So, leaving this town to the south, you go out of the ring of Haldun like you would when you're going north, but rather a more southern exit. And then there is a road. I mean, you passed the Elven Temple that Barut and Virik went to, and Tobias and Aeonor thinks is just a fucking eyesore. And then you start going down a road that leads completely south towards the city of Thundral. The road is old. You reckon it was built probably when Slate Cove was. The High Elves have always had an interest in Slate Cove sort of blossoming, and so this road was built and is actually fairly high quality. When you get out of where it would be really well traveled, like near Slate Cove and where there's small villages around and people would use it very often, when you get like a day down and it's a little bit less used, you can tell it's like a very good, like, not exactly cobblestone, it's almost like stone tiles, and every mile there is actually a star marker in the tiles. It's very high quality. The thing is that this isn't in the Elven lands, and they're not maintaining it, and they haven't maintained it for several hundred years. So it's overgrown. At some places it's under like layers of mud. In some places it's still pretty high quality. There's bridges that aren't really still operational, and you have to go and walk over stepping stones and things like that. But for the most part, it's a pretty fine route. You will sometimes, you know, need Tobias's help when you have to like go off-road, when there are places where the road is just destroyed and trees are felled and things like that. But traveling for the most part is mostly safe. When you travel for the first couple of days, actually nearly a week, and you get from the cold, snowy and rocky wastes of the north, you actually start entering the ancient Aelinai forest, the old elven forest that the High Elves live in. This is kind of comparable to like a redwood forest. It's got very, very, very tall trees that go up a long way, but unlike Jotunskóga, they're not like thick. These are more natural seeming trees. Although there's definitely an air of magic about this forest. It's an elven forest. It's not to the extent of the other one. There would be small little markers, there's small little villages that occasionally you pass, and you're not alone on the road. You would occasionally see people on horses coming one way or another, especially when you start getting even further into the forest. There's little routes that path and twist off, seemingly small little towns and villages off the way. It is a comfortable walk where occasionally when you camp for the night, you have people to talk to, which is, you know, Barut is interested in, at the very least.
Very much so.
Several days into traveling, this forest, it's dense, Tobias, and you are aware the whole time that it's full of threats of a nature that you aren't necessarily used to. So, okay, sure, you're following a road. You're a little wiser than that. This road is wild and untamed, and if there was something out here that wanted to eat you, it would have no issue attacking on the road. It's not like a well-protected road between villages. It's just sort of left to its own devices. And quite literally, one of the days when you're walking, you have that feeling, that same sort of magical tingle in the back of your neck that you are being followed. And you look up to the sky. Why don't you give me a perception check, Tobias?
Why don't I?
That's really good. You actually see a large bird-like creature swooping around above you, kind of hopping from tree to tree in the canopy. And the thing is, I described like the big massive redwoods. There are also smaller trees that are growing like under it as well. And even stranger is when you see that. Okay, when you're looking at something far away, it's quite hard to work out necessarily how distance is, so you look for its shadow. And it's one of those things where someone without your expertise would find it very hard to see a shadow already in the tree canopy, but you are well-trained and talented. It's just that the shadow of this creature is not of a bird. It is of a man jumping from treetop to treetop. You can give me a nature roll.
Yeah, let's go ahead and rip that real quick. Oh,
so you have no idea what that is.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's spooky and weird. It hasn't attacked you yet, though clearly it is on a...
Yeah, I really thought I knew what that was for just a second, but I'm not sure now. I will at the very least convey, not so much without like yelling, holy shit, what is that? But I'll kind of like slowly get my bow out and just kind of motion to the others like to look up kind of.
It's very much following behind you as well.
Okay.
Which...
So hopefully it's not within earshot. If it is, we're in trouble. But keeping my voice very low, I'll just be like, okay, don't freak out. I think there's something on our trail.
The rest of you can give me perception checks if you want.
It looks like
Tesh,
a bird.
You have disadvantage because it's sun time.
Carries the shadow of a man.
Sunglasses.
Oh yeah, never mind.
I would have the sunglasses on. Okay.
Yeah.
Baruit's
Yeah,
reading
sunglasses.
right now. He's just got a
Barut
book.
was walking and reading, and actually
Yeah.
like bumps into the back of Virik while Virik like stops and turns around. Virik, this is like the first time your like sunglasses have really cut in because you are looking up at the sun, where the sun is coming from.
Perhaps we can hide in the foliage and ambush it.
What are we doing now?
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, Aelinor and Virik, you can see it. You literally see it like it's just stopped like swooping. It's kind of perching. It's kind of too far up to see a lot of details, but you see almost like fey characteristics of antlers and multiple different colors in the feathers.
What I would recommend, I do agree with an ambush, but it's already trailing us, so it will know if we go to hide. Let's carry on as normal. When we get to nighttime, we'll go to sleep, but keep your sword handy. And when it comes to attack us, if that is indeed what its intentions are, we will be ready and jump to defeat it.
Okay.
I still have no idea what you all are talking about.
It's
I'm just gonna keep reading. You just let me know when you need me.
Just keep reading and sleep with your sword by your side tonight.
Elves don't sleep.
Wait. What I'm gonna
Whatever. Just think about whatever you think about with your sword by your side.
Okay.
As he says that, Virik's actually going to put a minor illusion of what he saw in front of the book. Like just
or like perching on it, like
yeah.
And the thing about when you start casting minor illusion, Virik, because you've never really, it's one of those things, you've never done it before on camera. You definitely would have done it like in the tavern, like trying to figure out your magic. It's just kind of how I've been imagining it. Often when you see minor illusion, you kind of imagine it as sort of coming together in light. Yours literally comes together in the darkness of this canopy and just sort of like all the color fills in. It opens its wings just like it is up on there, where you can see it. You're almost like watching it while making it.
Yeah.
Would you say at any point it would have gotten like within 60 feet of us? Never that close?
No. It's actually quite a deal away. It would never get closer than like 120 feet, and that's when it's closest.
Off of Virik's description through minor illusion, would I be able to do a nature check on it?
Yes.
Okay. Not that I'm good at nature, but, figure it's worth asking.
You definitely know it is a creature that exists in these forests. You never encountered it before, but you were warned of it. It's a creature that particularly feasts on elves. Not that it only eats elves, it just likes elves. So
has a taste for them.
Being an elf who traveled through this forest, you were warned by a hunter when you were traveling last time. You just have no memory of what the name was because you didn't necessarily completely believe it to be a true story. Because why would a creature have one taste for one race more than another? But then you literally just defeated a creature that was living to eat.
Yeah.
As Tobias said. So...
yes.
You believe it slightly more this time.
Slightly more now. Especially with the description now shown in front of me, as I'm sure it was described to me by the hunter.
More or less.
More or less. And I can say, okay, those like to eat elves, mostly. I don't remember what they're called, but, yeah. Huh. I'm sure they'll eat people too, though, don't worry.
Oh, thank goodness. I was worried that you were going to get eaten almost the second time, and I was going to have to just stand by and watch the whole thing. But
Brew's tasty, apparently.
I think I'm still a little seasoned, even a week later. It's a little sunk into the skin still,
Like glitter. It's there always.
No matter how many times I wash. I still smell like the seasoned spices. It's not really every time I bathe in warm water, it just makes it more
broth, a tasty broth.
Yeah.
So, you actually do that little plan of waiting until night, and it wasn't that far until night, and resting. Do you rest sort of like just off the road?
I think so. And before we rest, I would like to take a few minutes past alarm around the perimeters of our campsite.
Good choice.
So I can ritual cast that like 3 times, and I can do like a 60-foot cube.
Would you do it as that big? Like you'd spend a whole 30 minutes to?
I'd spend 30 minutes doing that, yeah. Absolutely. As part of like first watch, basically, just spend a bit of time like setting up the alarms and stuff.
Would you have a campfire?
I think that's reasonable. It's probably pretty chilly out, although we are kind of getting out of the north, but it's still
a
like the sun's down. It's cold.
Yeah,
like...
although it is rapidly approaching the end of spring and warmer seasons. It's one of those things. It's still dark at night. It's still cold at night.
And also, just so it's for the record, I would be setting it with the mental alarm, like the silent one that would just wake up but not make a sound.
Awesome. Let me put a little campfire on what is definitely not going to be a battle map.
Totally not suspicious actions that I'm taking here. Definitely pay no mind to the man behind the curtain.
That is very much what being a DM on Roll20 is. It's actually worse in person because you're like, don't mind me, I'm taking the battle map out and rolling it and flattening it out, getting the markers.
It's always great like when the battle map is already set up like before the game and it's just like hidden like under like paper.
Yes. That future Ollie is gonna have like a craft, like a hobby room where I can just like take whole dwarven forge arenas from the side. Like, no one look over there. Don't look behind the curtain.
Yeah, you should just have a literal curtain.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is when the DM just suddenly rolls a ton of dice. It's like, oh no.
Oh yeah. I have that because I use real dice. You can sometimes tell when I need more. Alright. I think this is actually a perfect time for a little break. While you set up the camp, while Tobias is wandering around, however you cast alarm. Kind of imagine it's not even like a very magical process.
It's like literally setting up strings that are enchanted if something trips it or whatever.
Amelia had like a ruler, like a yardstick. You would like measure out the distance for and like.
She was a much more mathematical person than Tobias.
Very thorough. Very thorough.
All right, and we will be back in a couple of minutes with definitely not a fight.
There's gonna be a fight.
I think there might be a fight.
Someday.